Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AskReddit. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. What's something that's not a cult but feels like a cult? AA. I am in AA. I like AA. It saved my life. But it is cultish a lot of the time. Also in AA, also love AA, also agree. Saved my life too. It has its moments. I think one of the key differences between AA and a cult is in AA, you can leave anytime. The Herbalife organization. They were charged with being a pyramid scheme, but they still operate in a similar way. There are several people I grew up with who became hooked on it, and they definitely act like they're in a cult. My niece was involved in that shit. She was constantly posting shit-tier memes about how Herbalife wasn't a cult. I worked with a Herbalife rep and we got along well until one day we were talking about the gym, and he was giving me tips. The conversation ended up as a sales pitch for me to buy the products he was selling, and I honestly didn't talk to him much after that. Some workplaces. The ones that push the "we're all family here" attitude especially. Aka, you won't be promoted. Literally saw a job posting yesterday that said if monetary compensation is your primary reason for applying, don't bother. We're a family here. That was one of the most demeaning things I've ever read. Marching band. If you know, you know. One thing that still blows my mind to this day is that people pay thousands of dollars to be in drum corps bands. So many questions when I first learned about it. Oh, so it's like being in an orchestra where it's your job to play and be the best in the world? Nope, you pay them actually. Oh well, at least you'll be basically famous, or at least really well known for playing that instrument. Nope, the only people who even know the name of your corps, or even what drum and bugle corps is in general, are other corps members, their family, or high school marching band kids and their teachers. MLMs, but especially Mary Kay. I went to a convention once as the guest of a consultant because she was trying to get me to join. It was very step forward. Also, she didn't tell me you were expected to dress up, so I showed up in jeans and a hoodie. Haha. I had the exact same experience. Showed up looking normal and realized these were not my kind of people. High school clubs where you spend a lot of time together. Marching band and theater are the ones that come to mind for me. This is extremely true of theater, even into the professional ranks. Too many gurus, too little pay, too many abuses. High school bands are cults. Look at them, they all march in sync like an army. They even have flag holders, color guard, they go places on buses together and create chaos wherever they go. And they have a leader who controls them, drum majors, and tells them what to do. Now if that ain't a cult, then I don't know what is. I was in band in high school. Part of pit percussion. Crossfit. A friend of mine does CrossFit, and I made the mistake of saying I'm glad you found something that works for you. Got a tirade of why it works for everyone. Deleted. Nutri-Boom. Boom boom. Please sign here that you've seen Debbie Stabelman and find her to be happy, healthy, and alive. Working for a non-profit. They tend to refer to employees as a family working for a cause, which wouldn't be culty on its own, but they definitely use it to manipulate employees to work themselves half to death and set a culture where boundaries are thought of as not being invested in the mission. They also use your passion for the mission to justify working you harder / paying you less. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love my job and what I get to do. But I'm old enough to see what's been done to me over the years. The rotating door of young employees who are worked to burn out and replaced, though, I feel bad for. It's a hard lesson to learn. The Holy Church of CrossFit. I'm a member of the not quite as well-known Church of Orange Theory. If you ask us about proper rowing technique, we'll all start chanting at you. Legs, core, arms, arms, core, legs. Rowing is 60% leg drive. Power, patience, patience. When I first joined 2.5 years ago, I came home with my little folder of information and coupons to local businesses, a tote bag, a car magnet, and the heart rate monitor, and said to my husband, I think I just joined a cult. Some families. If you're inside the family, you are accepted no matter what, and you don't question anything. If you're outside the family, you are treated politely, but don't really matter much unless you act as part of the family. If you are part of the family, but betray them, you are excommunicated, and they spread lies about you. Whenever my wife and I see signs in people's houses that say something like, "This is a happy family," or "This family lives, laughs, and loves," we like to call it household propaganda. We tend to picture those families the way you described here. Story of my fucking life. Some fandoms. Especially K-pop fandoms. My Little Pony too. I watched that show for a couple seasons back in the day, after wondering why several of my friends were hyping it up, including one that really surprised me by liking the show. Friendship is Magic. Pretty good show, quite funny. Took a peek or 2 or 3 into the fandom though, and Jesus Christ. It was very well, no wonder people who watch the show have a bad reputation, goddamn. Deleted. The Order of the Arrow and the Boy Scouts. Technically an approved organization, but it's cultish as hell. It's funny, because they make you do this big induction campout, and the day after I got back from mine, my English teacher gave a lecture on how to identify a cult, and it hit a lot of red flags. Can't believe I had to scroll this far to find any mention of BSA. Regular scouts can be culty depending on the troop/council, especially when you get into summer camp cliques, but OA is above and beyond culty on purpose. I legit did not know that the Order of the Arrow was a real thing. I thought it was made up on King of the Hill. Call me Kevin's subscribers, it's not a cult, I promise. Yes, definitely not the cult of Gin Pickens. I immediately thought this one too. The most wholesome and loving cult in existence, based around an insane mass murderer with a love of elaborate basements. Mega churches. The ones that air on TV with a crowd that rivals sports teams, owns sports arenas, and has its pastors fly in private jets. There, I said it. The televangelists. As a Christian, mega churches do definitely seem like a cult. Reddit sometimes. Sometimes? Bit of an understatement. I don't disagree, but Reddit is just a platform. Some subs def have a culty feel though, especially with the whole downvoting make all the posts we don't like disappear system on the site. Time to sort by controversial. I didn't know about that cult. Curly girl method groups. Flat iron, jail. Hair dye, jail. Sulfates, you right to jail. Silicones, right to jail, right away. No deep conditioning, believe it or not, jail. We have the best hair in the world because of jail. Forced school songs that talk about being a part of the school forever. School spirit. I can understand it for university, but not for high school or below, which I didn't have a choice in attending. I went there because it was the school I ended up being sent to, ergo I should be proud of it? I don't get it. Multi-level marketing. Sororities. There's a really good episode of King of the Hill where the central plot involves the characters being unable to distinguish between a sorority and a cult and getting into trouble. Yup. Also fraternities. Love my fraternity, but we can be a little culty sometimes. I just went through at least 24 top replies and shocked Burning Man isn't listed. Y'all burners are fucking weird. Source. I was one who has critical thoughts about how things work yet have found ideas are only cool if you're popular. This is fascinating. I've wanted to go for a long time for the music and art, but could not stand the vibe people got about it who went. I remember friends going and suddenly totally changing their friend groups. And a friend saying he's cool, he's a burner. It's really sad to me though. I'm a lover of less commercial electronic music and would love to see the amazing art and cars, but I feel like I'd find the burners the most exhausting aspect. Only really because they preach being yourself, and yet they all kind of look/act the same. Peloton. Seriously. My dad hasn't stopped talking about his since getting it a year ago, and went so far as to buy me one for Christmas this year. Which is super generous and my fat ass will totally benefit, but feels like I'm being indoctrinated into something. The instructors are really intense and say culty things. I think the idea is to physically torture you to the point that you don't notice you're being programmed to spread Peloton gospel to anyone who will listen. I've been so bored that joining a cult where I get hotter sounds okay though. Elon Musk's fan followers. Funny thing is he clearly had a social media campaign running to change his image for the better. At first everyone pretty much knew he was part wacko. Then he gets on the JR podcast, smokes weed, then all of a sudden he is this grand meme lord who browses Reddit and thus is great. Texas A&M University. In high school I made a presentation on the traditions at A&M. I covered as many traditions as I could find. My mom went there. My uncles went there. My granddad went there. So early on in life I knew I was going to go there. Right after I finished someone said that sounds like a cult. Unus annus. What tipped you off? The Latin, the constant themes of death and impermanence, or the low chanting? Flat Earth Society. Their inability to understand that the Earth is not flat baffles me to oblivion. Ignorant absurd people still think the Earth is flat. Any fandom if you go deep enough kinda feels like a cult. These past few months I have gotten super into Hololive, and well, all hail Corona. Eating disorders and any pro-eating disorder sites. Those who have an eating disorder often view their disorder as their best friend, giving them names like Anna and Mia. And then there are those sites to make it worse. They treat eating disorders like they are sacred and often post rules in a cultish way. One site I used to visit in my dark days even had the 10 commandments of Anna. Now if that doesn't sound cultish, IDK, what does? Don't even make me start about the weight loss coaches on there. Politics, lately. Yet people that go super hard for politicians are super culty, lol. Salesforce. No, I don't want to build a community, go hiking, or join 100 online classes to learn the basics. Make a couple of well-explained, to-the-point training videos. FFS. Diet culture. Keto. Paleo. Dash. Mega. Not the Republicans but Trump's wing on the extreme right. Especially now that the election is settled. Like, I still see Trump flags all over, and there's this one guy who every Saturday for the last 2 months goes and stands on this kinda main but not really intersection with a megaphone screaming about Trump. The hardcore deaf community. I'm talking the kind who insist that being deaf isn't a disability, intentionally seclude themselves from the hearing world, and protest against cochlear implants. Disney. If you've ever known anyone who has worked at Disneyland, they will talk your ear off about how it's the happiest place on earth, and how lucky they are to work there, well, pre-pandemic. The Apple, consumer base, fan base? I don't know. They just feel like a fucking cult. Islam. No, you can't say the wholesome foreign religion is bad. You're a racist and a phobic. What do you mean this religion hates women and LGBT? Shut up, no, that doesn't fit the agenda. People who own Thermomix machines. Spend that much on an over-elaborate food processor, and I guess you need to double down, but man, they just won't shut the fuck up about how it changed their life. Oh, cooking is so different for me now, oh, it's just so convenient. Having said that, I did once go to a Thermomix party, where they try to mind wash you into their not a cult, because the lady that invited me was recently divorced and pretty hot, and I figured why not give it a shot. I never particularly liked her ex-husband, so could have been a multi-bird stone throw. I barely made it out alive without my wallet being lightened a couple of grand. Man, the sales pressure was intense. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.